So this is a direct continuation of what I talked about last week. And I'm sort of with this concept of a circle of code mindfulness trying to wrap up everything I've ever learned about being a programmer into one ethos that if I could carry it with me, I would always be doing good programming. So, but to recap from last week, there are some lessons that I've learned over and over and over again for like the last 6 years that I've been doing coding. It takes a long time to realize what lesson you need to learn on the project you're on. It's always a lesson you've already learned before, but it might take you a year before you realize which one. And web development sucks. That's the one thing I can't solve, so I'll show you the circle I came up with, but I can't solve that. So yeah, I thought of it like when you're driving, they teach you to be a defensive driver by shifting your attention like around all of the different mirrors and the windshield in a circular order so that you've never like been out of touch with important information for very long at all. So I thought if I could, have my lessons in a simple form that I could just do in a checklist, like maybe every 15 minutes, just think about like one of the lessons that I've learned and like, am I feeling frustrated with what I'm doing right now? It might be because of a lesson, and as long as I don't get so tunnel vision into what I'm doing, I might be able to catch myself in less than a year and apply the right lesson. And so last week, this is what I had to show for that. And this week I have version 0.0.2, which I typed up an acronym on the subway and then mocked this up like 10 minutes ago. So it's still really early as well. But the values that I came up with are reusable, ergonomic. That's a new concept that I learned since trying to learn Rust, and a lot of Rust coding is not ergonomic at all. But it basically means like that things should be convenient and feel right. Like when you are adding new functionality, you shouldn't feel like you have to blow everything up and re-implement it. Like feel like the code you're writing is slotting itself naturally into the frameworks that you're using, utilizing dependencies in the way they want to be used. And so I hadn't really thought about that very much, and having the word ergonomic, hearing it for the first time applied to in a tech context was like, so that's cool. Mentored, meaning that on any project I should know who I'm going to ask for help like right away. And like when you don't know, or when you say like, oh, I'll just go on a support forum, but only if I get really frustrated, sometimes, like I would be at work at my last job and just get like frustrated and then like only sit with myself or like take a break and try to just like work through it on my own. And since I never knew who to ask for help, it was always just like, God, like my last resort is that I'm going to post in a forum and get some help. And if I do that, I'll probably figure it out on my own anyway. Being at RC, it was like, okay, like someone in the room knows how to help me. And if I know who that is, then I never have to like think of this as like a last resort thing. So being active in the open source community, knowing the people who maintain the repositories you depend on, that can all be really cool. Idiomatic, meaning that you want to know how, if you're using a library, how is it meant to be used? How do people who use it structure their code? And go with that flow because it exists for a reason. I keep relating everything to the book Dune, but it's like when you go to a new place, adopt the customs of the people that are there because they live there and they know how to get through the same problems you're going to have. Make sure that your code is new and necessary, because one of the main things that I ran into in game development was like, oh, I'm trying to reinvent an engine just for this. It's so much work and I'm not even working on the game because of how much time it takes. Defined refers to scope control. You want to define like where your project starts and ends, and make sure that where your project ends, you're using good dependencies that fill in the part that you're not there to do. So that's where game engines and stuff come into play. Evaluated and reviewed mean the same thing. That means get code review. And sustainable means don't be the maintainer for every piece of your stack. And that's about all. That's my code wheel. Yeah.